Yeah. Oh. No, I didn't look like it. Is about everybody here? Okay. Guess people still arriving a little bit. All right. Welcome. Good morning and welcome to the Vashon Island Unitarian Universalists. My name is Mary Van Gemert and I will be your service leader today. If you are visiting, please participate as you feel comfortable. You're invited to stay and introduce yourself in conversation following the service. We are a mostly lay-led community, strengthened and enriched by weaving together the volunteer contributions of members and friends. Our community is supported and guided by our quarter-time minister, Reverend Victoria Poling. As we begin our service, I invite you to settle into this space and release everything that led up to your getting yourself here today. As you feel comfortable, please put your feet on the ground, close your eyes, and take a couple of breaths and bring your attention into this moment of communal reflection and sharing. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional homelands of the Squamish Coast Salish Native people. The Puyallup and Muckleshoot people continue to steward these lands today. We commit to uplifting Native voices, experiences, and histories, as well as promoting social justice actions for and with the Indigenous people of this land and beyond. As we settle in, we acknowledge that our congregation is committed to individual freedom of belief, welcomes diversity, seeks to promote a sense of community, and fosters religion which enriches the spirit. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you arrived here, you belong here. I'd like to invite Robbie Rohr to light our chalice and share our chalice lighting reading.
Good morning. This is by Maureen Killeron, and it's called Let Us Look First to the Response of Love. In these hard times, let us look first to the response of love. In the midst of challenge, may our chalice flame bear witness to the inherent worth and dignity of every human being. In the midst of uncertainty, may our chalice be a beacon of encouragement that our values may guard our choices. Let us look first to the response of love.
I'd now like to introduce our guest speaker, Reverend Justin Almeida. Reverend Almeida was raised in Las Vegas, Nevada, and now resides on the unceded land of the Duwamish and Coast Salish peoples known as Seattle, Washington. His past work includes television news media and nonprofit management. He served in the Peace Corps from 2007 to 9 in Romania. Justin completed his chaplain residency and fellowship at the Veterans Administration of Puget Sound. He now serves as a staff chaplain for Swedish Medical Center. Justin has a Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy and Theology from the University of San Diego and a Master of Divinity from Seattle University. He is an ordained Unitarian Universalist minister affiliated with University Unitarian Church. His chaplaincy training specializes in palliative care, hospice, mental health, trauma, and crisis response. Reverend Almeida has a passion for restorative justice, social equity, and public theology. He volunteers with multiple justice causes, providing trauma-informed spiritual care and counseling at protests, trainings, and other events. Reverend Almeida has a black belt in Shaolin Kempo and enjoys spicy food, strong coffee, and craft beers and spirits. When not partnering, parenting, working, and studying, you can find him figuring out creative ways of fermenting various food and drink. Welcome, Reverend Almeida.
Well, thank you. Buenos dias y bienvenidos. I really appreciate being here with you all this morning. And so I invite you all into a spirit of prayer and meditation as we begin our time together with these words by poet and mystic Jal ad-Din Rumi in this reading titled Love Dogs. One night, a man was crying, Allah, Allah. His lips grew sweet with the praising, until a cynic said, "So, I have heard you calling out, but have you ever gotten a response?" The man had no answer to that. He quit praying and fell into a confused sleep. He dreamed he saw Kadir, the guide of souls, in a thick green foliage. "Why did you stop praising?" "Because I never heard anything back." This longing you express is the return message. The grief you cry out from draws you toward union. Your pure sadness that wants help is the secret cup. Listen to the moan of a dog for its master. That whining is the connection. There are love dogs no one knows the names of. Give your life to be one of them. And now, and I forgot my order of service. And now, rise as you are willing and able and join us in hymn number 131, Love Will Guide Us. And so let love guide us this morning as I deliver these words. I really appreciate the opportunity to worship with you on this Sunday morning. As we've gathered at the end of January with the theme of liberating love, I want to give thanks for this space in which we all find ourselves. A space with minds that think, hearts that love, and hands that are ready to bend the arc of history toward justice. Our faith and this community, at our best, strives for the liberation of the individual and community from the pain of hurt, the wounds of trauma, and the despair of isolation. May we all be open to the spirit of life and love in these imperfect words spoken and the perfect words written in each of our hearts. I've heard it said that love is perhaps the most overused and misused word in the English language. I can love tacos, music, weather, tea, really bad 80s hair metal, travel, Netflix period dramas, friends, family, church, community, and country. In English, this one word conveys a multitude of emotions and experiences, from the mundane to the sacred. Etymologically, we trace the word of love back through the Old English with the word lufu and leaf. This goes back into Indo-European roots shared with Sanskrit, with the origin meaning desire or happiness. In Latin, the associated word libet means pleasing and is the root for words like libido, related to desire. And these are just the symbols and meaning of the experience. Even the way that we experience love in our brain is different. Romantic love shows increased activity in the reward centers and decreased activity in the prefrontal cortex, inhibiting judgment and skepticism. Part of why we have the saying, love is blind. Platonic love is related to these neural connections, however, does not include the same neurotransmitters that are associated with emotional and physical arousal. Altruistic, empathetic love involves a whole different part of the neurocognitive process. No wonder that our word love is so easily misunderstood and misconstrued. Another example. When I'm out with a group of friends, somebody recommends going for sushi. I say something like, "Oh, I'm not really in the mood for sushi." And their response is, "But you love sushi." Well, this is true. I enjoy sushi quite a bit. I would perhaps say that when I'm eating sushi, I do love it. That doesn't mean I want it all the time. Yet the idea is if I love something, that must mean I want it all the time, which is not always the case. I love my partner dearly, and if we were around each other all the time, I imagine our love would carry different words, some of which I can't speak from the pulpit. Love can be aggravating. This same word I use for sushi can be applied to my human relationships, completely different contexts. The love I feel for my child is such a different love than what I feel for a friend. They both carry a sense of commitment, compassion, connection, and yet the quality has a certain je ne sais quoi. These differences are difficult to name, and somehow we're all supposed to just inherently know the difference. Other languages do not have this issue. In Greek, there are multiple words for love. Eros is the romantic, passionate love one feels that moves individuals into companionship and sensuality. Philia is the word for the deep, authentic friendships humans can experience over a lifetime. Storge is the unconditional and committed love to tribe and family. And agape, at least in the Western tradition, is known as the highest form of love, the empathetic, sacrificial, universal love for life and the world beyond all of these other meanings. In Greek, I would not use the word love outside of the realm of relationship. For basic items in the world, like food, the Greek word for like is used. I like sushi, not I love. In the context of art and nature, the word used means adore. So instead of I love that sunrise, the Greek would say, I adore that sunrise. The need to differentiate love from other attractions and desires and attachments is well rooted in a lot of different traditions, and rightfully so. The human emotional experience requires nuance and context, especially when, epistemically, words are always a pale comparison of the actual experience. There is no way for me to know intimately the experience of another person. As much as I try to put myself into another person's shoes, I can always only go so far. In my work as a chaplain, there's a common phrase that is always discouraged at the bedside, especially when someone is describing their hurt, pain, injury, or trauma. That phrase is, I know exactly how you feel. Now, the intention is to convey solidarity and understanding. Yet, the reality is I have no idea what a person is experiencing. I don't know what it's like to experience an aneurysm or a stroke, to lose the function of my arms or my legs, to need intensive or invasive surgery. And even if I had known it, I can only know my experience, which is perhaps similar to, but not exact, to another person's. At the bedside, instead of saying, I know exactly how you feel, I name the truth. What you describe is so difficult. I've never gone through anything like that. And I'm sorry that this is happening. How are you coping with all of this? I believe we need to be more intentional about the words we use and more curious about how others use these same words. Because as we see in our culture today, love is big and confusing and used so often in so many ways, it is almost meaningless. Yet, love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth. It always protects, it always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. This is attributed to Saul of Tarsus when writing to the early Christian community in the city of Corinth, Greece, around the 1st century CE. He wrote these words to them to encourage this community about how to be in agape with one another, especially as the community navigated differences and disagreements threatening to tear them apart. Something that, even 2,000 years later, perhaps we can understand. So what do we Unitarian Universalists believe about love? Our principles and sources give us insight into our religious perspective, especially our first principle, which serves as a foundation for all the ones that come after it. As Unitarian Universalists, we covenant to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person, which is absolutely beautiful. A belief that inspired me to become part of our Unitarian Universalist tradition. In this statement, when I saw it the first time, I came into a UU church, I read it on the wall, and I felt seen and included, regardless of my history or my situation. What kind of love affirms worth and dignity of every person? The kind that intrinsically believes all human beings are more than the worst action we have ever done. That everyone is capable of redemption, regardless of ethnicity, culture, economics, spirituality, immigration status, where someone lives, or who somebody chooses for their lives. This love includes those experiencing homelessness, the addicted, the mentally ill, the murderer, the rapist, white supremacists, all human beings. This love is hard. It can be painful. It requires good boundaries and deep spiritual practice. Agape is what is at the end of the arc of history as it bends towards justice. Loving someone does not mean agreeing with them. It does not mean endorsing their message or belief. It doesn't even mean forgiving them. It means working toward a world that doesn't throw them away like trash. When I'm in the hospital, I don't just visit the good patients or the worthy patients. I visit whoever comes through that door. When I was working in the juvenile detention center in downtown Seattle, I met with a 12-year-old who had murdered somebody. A child who grew up homeless, surrounded by violence and addiction, a child who had done horrible things. And now, behind bars and locked away, was asking a question that I hope no child ever has to ask, which is, am I worthy of love? This child asked to see the chaplain because they had heard that the chaplain wasn't going to judge them. And out of my Unitarian Universalism, I could look at this child and unequivocally say, yes, you are worthy of love. You'll always be more than the worst thing you will have ever done. No one and no thing can take away your worth and dignity, not this system, and not even you. Siblings, this is the foundation of our faith. We believe in powerful love and that no one is left behind in this love, which does not mean that our love is powerless or ineffective. It is the kind of love that peacefully and persistently grinds to dust the walls of hate and ignorance. Even in our most recent history of 100 years in this country, we have seen such miracles as our laws changing to include the right to love, the right to live free from prejudice and hate, and the right of every person, women, people of color, immigrants and refugees, to participate in our democracy. And even as powers and principalities try to turn back the clock and make us great again, we know the truth that our greatness is not in the past, but in a future in which agape is realized. This is why love liberates. Because aspects of the human person that seek to diminish, enslave, or destroy other human lives cannot exist at the same time as selfless love. An experience of the interdependent nature of life encompasses the experience of agape, a deep knowledge that an injury to one is an injury to all. Prophet womanist Bell Hooks explains in her 1994 essay, Love as the Practice of Freedom, quote, "In this society, there is no powerful discourse on love emerging either from politically progressive radicals or from the left. The absence of a sustained focus on love in progressive circles arises from a collective failure to acknowledge the needs of the spirit and an overestimated emphasis on material concerns. Without love, our efforts to liberate ourselves and our world community from oppression and exploitation are doomed. As long as we refuse to address fully the place of love in struggles for liberation, we will not be able to create a culture of conversion where there is a mass turning away from an ethic of domination." Bell Hooks's use of love in this way ultimately points not to an erotic or saccharine love, but a sacrificial and empathetic experience, a Unitarian Universalist kind of love. Because all of our other principles flow from this foundation, our commitment to justice, equity, and compassion in all of our human relationships, the acceptance that we need not think alike to love alike, and a focus on communal and collective foundations that protect the vulnerable and the earth. This is who we are at our best. And so how do we develop the spirit of agape in our lives? How do we liberate ourselves and each other in the process? I believe that it begins in gratitude. Because every morning I wake up, and very thankfully you all have woken up with the breath of life. If the hospital has taught me anything, this is not promised. Each and every day is a gift. And so in this moment, I realize that what will I do? It's a realization of an intentionality that if I get to be alive today, how will I choose to be alive? If I'm truly grateful for the breath of life, on what am I dependent for this breath? I'm dependent on the earth, which provides habitat and home. I'm dependent on the flora and fauna that provide air and sustenance. I am dependent on those human hands that cultivate the earth and provide food, shelter, service, and peace. There is no me without we. And so to wake up with a deep gratitude that I am not alone in all of this. There is another word for agape in theological terms, the Latin caritas, which is Latin for charity. The unconditional gifts that we give to the world and to others out of gratitude for the breath of life can be the spiritual practice of charity, which is more than just giving alms to the poor. It is giving for the sake of well-being of others. Because just believing in the inherent worth and dignity of every human is meaningless unless there are actions that make this belief a reality, which makes charity a spiritual practice intrinsically connected to our experience of agape, giving not only out of our abundance, but even out of our scarcity. Do not let fear of not enough keep us from making sure there is something for everyone. A third spiritual practice to consider is moving beyond the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, into what I have heard called the platinum rule. Do unto others the way they would have done unto them. Not just thinking of using people's pronouns, and not just thinking of my own experience as the bar for the needs and well-being of others, but allowing others to name their needs and well-being for themselves, and act accordingly out of agape and caritas, and so listening to people how they want to be addressed, how they want to be loved. And it can be as easy as paying attention to the pronouns on a name tag, or as difficult as donating a church building for the sake of affordable housing. In all actions as possible, let us be not for ourselves alone. Siblings in faith, Unitarian Universalism has a love that is not for the faint of heart. There are no atoms of love or molecules of charity, and so it is up to us to make these things a reality. Love is a transcendental human ideal that moves out of our beliefs into action. And while some may think that this kind of love may feel oppressive or burdensome because it can feel like I am having less, this is only a focus on the material. What we reap are the rewards of love, which come as freedom from fear and hate and isolation, and replacing them with beloved human connection and community. I tell you this truth. I have been at the bedside of hundreds of people who have died, of all walks of life, all kinds of means and ability, and the best, most beautiful deaths have come not from abundance of wealth or anything other than love. In the end, all is stripped away, except for the memory we leave behind. And if our memory is to be a blessing, then we must live like a blessing to others every single day. Friends, may the Spirit of life provide us with the gift of love in all of its forms. May Eros move us into joy and pleasure today. May Philios grant us friendships of depth and support. May Storge bring us kin of blood and kin of choice. And may Agape liberate our hearts and our minds from the shackles of hate, fear, and ignorance. I close this sermon with these words, with this very ancient prayer of peace. Life, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. Please grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying to self that we are born into eternal life through others. Blessed be. Amen. And now please join us for the joys and concerns of this community.
Okay, it's in the book too. There is a love holding me. I rest in this love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. Thank you. And we'll now resume recording as we finish the service. As members and friends of the Vashon Island Unitarian Universalists, we commit to supporting our congregation. Financial resources help us pay speakers and staff, support our social justice programs, and maintain our building. Please support VIUU with your pledges and offerings so that we can continue to be a vital community. Our congregation engages beyond our walls for peace, social and economic justice, freedom of belief, and protection of our planet and its inhabitants. Once a month, we contribute the financial offering to a regional, national, or international organization that aligns with our values. This week's offering supports VIUU and our beloved community. I invite our greeters to now pass around the offering baskets. As we receive our offering, please join in singing, "We Give Thanks." The words are printed on the back of the order of service. We give thanks for this precious day, for our gathered here and those far away, for the times we share with love and care. Will we give thanks for this precious day. We give thanks this precious day. We're all gathered here, and those far away are the times we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Reverend Almeida.
So I close our time together with a reading from a selection of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. from his sermon, Where Will We Go From Here? Now, a lot of us are preachers, and all of us have our moral convictions and concerns, and so often we have problems with power. But there is nothing wrong with power if power is used correctly. You see, what happened is that some of our philosophers got off base. And one of the great problems of history is that the concepts of love and power have usually been contrasted as opposites, polar opposites, so that love is identified with a resignation of power and power with a denial of love. It was this misinterpretation that caused the philosopher Nietzsche, who was a philosopher of the will to power, to reject the Christian concept of love. It was this same misinterpretation which induced Christian theologians to reject Nietzsche's philosophy of the will to power in the name of the Christian idea of love. Now, we got to get this thing right. What is needed is a realization that power without love is reckless and abusive, and that love without power is sentimental and anemic. Power at its best is love, implementing the demands of justice. And justice at its best is love correcting everything that stands against love. And this is what we must see as we move on. Siblings in faith, go from this space to love and serve the world. And before we do that, please stand as you are willing and able to join us in hymn number 124.
Our chalice extinguishing words are entitled May the Love That Overcomes All Differences, written by Frederick Gillis. May the love that overcomes all differences, that heals all wounds, that puts to flight all fears, that reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us now and always. Amen.
Our formal service is now over. I'd like to give a special thanks to Reverend Almeida. Anne Herfindahl has just been a wonderful pianist, and welcome. We're happy to have you here with your wonderful playing. Mary Dimash, where is she? Oh, yes, set up many things here. And Robbie Rohr, of course. So this is set up group number 4, by the way. We all get to work together here on this. And I all thank you for participating in this wonderful service. This has just been great. We'll now continue with any Unitarian Universalist related announcements. If somebody has an announcement related to our activities, please